Hello, my name is Rachel Cornelius, and I'm the manager of the Office of Partnerships and of the Teacher Education Program here at CU Denver. I'm here to talk to your class today about the email that you received from me recently about next steps to get into your next field experience. Whether that's next semester or in a year from now, this is still important information that you need to listen to. So your instructor or your academic advisor will be passing out this document that I have to share with you. So I've created this to help alleviate any confusion that comes up about when I do send out that email. A lot of questions arise, like, why are we doing this again? I already done my fingerprints. Why do I need to do it again? So here are all of those answers. So the email that I sent tells you a little information about the next field experience, EDHD 2930. If you're an ECED student, you might be taking ECED 2930, but it's not going to be offered until fall of the following year. So this video is specifically for those people in EDHD 1930 right now who might be ready for EDHD 2930 in the next semester. So in the email, it requests that you complete the undergrad field experience placement request form. And yes, you did fill this out when you were in 1930, so why do you have to do it again? These are why. It is used so I know which field experience you are seeking. So even though you're on my list right now for 1930, not everybody is going to be slated to go right into 2930. They might have other courses or other core content that they need to complete, and they might not be ready to do their next field experience. So it's not always assumed that you're going to go from one to the next to the next. My questions on the field experience placement request form, they change based on which field experience you are seeking. So if you go check out the form, you'll see that when you click on EDHD 2930, you'll get a whole nother block of questions that are asking you things like, what are your skills and what do you look for in a mentor teacher, and what are your district placement preferences, what are your extenuating circumstances, questions that you might not have seen when you filled it out for EDHD 1930. As a reminder, it must be completed for every field experience that you're requesting. So you did it for 1930, you're going to do it for 2930. If you're in ECED, you'll do it for ECED 2930, and then those other folks that need to take EDHD 3930, then you'll also complete it for 3930. Good news is that some of the repeating questions for 3930, there's just a button you could select that says, I want to reuse my answers from 2930, so you don't have to fill everything back out. The responses are shared with site teams to find you a best match and placement for your field experience. So unlike EDHD 1930, 2930 is a little bit more involved with your placement. We look at your extenuating circumstances, and we look at where you are located, and we look at your preferences and the answers to all of the questions that we ask you. Specifically, that information is sent out to the site teams at our professional development schools, and they pick out the top candidates for their teachers. It is the best way that we can, or that we have created, to make sure that what you are looking for in your field experience is about what the mentor teacher is looking for in their intern, to make a perfect match. The other thing that's mentioned in your email that you received recently is about the background check assurance form and the fingerprints. Now, since you're in 1930 right now, it's assumed that you've completed the background check assurance form and your fingerprints. It's just need to be completed one time before your first field experience. It provides details. The background check assurance form provided all the details about the process for undergraduate students, how much it is, why we encourage you to do VEX instead of the sub-license, what happens when it's time for licensure, all of that. All those questions are all answered in the background check assurance form. Once your prints are on file with VEX, and again, I've double-checked, and you would not be enrolled in 1930 having not done your fingerprints through VEX, so I'm pretty sure that everybody's squared away with this. But once your prints are on file with VEX, you don't need to do them again until you're applying for licensure. So you do them for your early field experiences, your 3 clinical blocks, and then you're all set through professional year. That's not to say, though, that when you were placed at a professional development school that they might not ask you to complete another background check. And that's because when we do fingerprints through VEX, The results from Colorado Bureau of Investigation are only sent to the School of Ed. We cannot disclose that information to our partners. Our partners do not get a copy of those results, and we're not allowed to share them. So unfortunately, everywhere you go, there might be some type of an additional background check, and it's just to protect you and protect the schools and to protect the children. Reminder that if an incident happens while you're a School of Education student, the Academic Services will be notified. So because we have that partnership with the VEX, if Colorado Bureau of Investigation finds out that something happened over the weekend, we will be notified by Monday. That information will then be taken to the Teacher Education Administrative team, and then we will be reaching out to you for next steps. And next steps could just mean that we need to see some police or court documentation, or next steps could be talking about if you were allowed to continue on in the program. So let's talk about some due dates. So the forms above, these two forms, mostly this one, because again, I'm assuming that everybody's completed this. We want the undergrad field experience placement request form submitted by November 1st. We have a priority deadline of November 1st for spring field experiences. If you're completing this for fall next year, you can look into the April 1st deadline. Now, priority deadline, we put this in place for a couple reasons. By November 1st, if you submit your paperwork, then I'll have more time and opportunity to consider your preferences and look at the responses to all of your questions. It is a first come, first serve basis. So if applications or requests for field experience are coming in after November 1st, you're just going to get what's left, and there might not be much left. Your answers to your placement preference questions, the 8 questions about like what you look for in a mentor teacher, what do you hope to get out of this, your goals and such, those are actually looked at ahead of time by professional development schools and the teams out there to determine your best placement. And we want to find you the best match. If you submit your paperwork later than the 1st, we have a final deadline of the 15th. Final deadline means that you can still get in, but you might get what's left. We might not be able to have the time and commitment to look at all of your preferences. And essentially, I'm just stumped right now. Essentially, it's not an ideal situation. We want to get your information in as soon as possible so that we can honor and consider every request. Anything after the 15th is not looked at until the following window of placement. So if you submit anything after the 15th, we will look at your information next semester for the following semester. Reminder of your concurrent coursework. So in 1930, you should have taken or currently taking EDFN 1000 with EDHD 1930. If you're an early childhood education candidate, when you take ECED 2930, which is now only available in the fall semesters, you will also need to take it with ECED 4070. If you are taking EDHD 2930, you will need to take LCRT 3720 and LCRT 4710. And then for your final field experience, EDHD 3930, you'll need to take SPED, SPED 4030, and CLDE 3830. When you do submit the early undergrad field experience placement request form, I have it up here for you to see. There is a button here when you select which field experience you're going to enroll in. So you're 1930 right now, you're going to be going into EDHD 2930, and they'll ask you if you've already taken the concurrent coursework or if you had them transferred or you plan to take them with EDHD 2930. If you do select yes, you've already taken a course, or you've had one transferred in, I will work with your academic advisor to verify that. These are those placement preference questions. Please read through this information. I know it's real awesome to have the school that's right across the street from you, but it's more powerful to be interested in a district that you want to work in because of its values, not necessarily its location. So we encourage the teacher candidates to explore the mission and vision and values of each district and remind yourself that, or friendly reminder that where you are for your early field experiences might not be where you end up for your professional year, but this is the beginning of a very long interview process. So if you want to try out different districts, then allow yourself that opportunity. Don't just keep selecting the same districts over and over for each field experience. Try out different ones. We do have a space up here for extenuating circumstances, and that there are going to be hardships that we have to consider. And some might be health related, some might be family related, some people don't have vehicles. So it's a lot easier for me to consider these extenuating circumstances ahead of time than me getting them at the back end. If I see them ahead of time and can place you appropriately, it's a much more ideal situation to do that than to have you contact me after all the placements have been confirmed and say, oh yeah, I don't have a car, what can you do for me? And then I'll have to move everybody around, and it's not an ideal situation. Also, underneath your preferences here are those questions I mentioned that the site teams at the professional development schools use to match you with the perfect teacher. So questions like, what has brought you to the world of education at this point in your life? Or how would you describe yourself in terms of your personality? And how would you describe your work style habits? Put some thought into these, and then in your next field experience, like if I were to select EDHD 3930, you'll see that this button comes up. I've already completed this section for 2930, and we can just reuse your preferences or reuse your answers. So really think about your answers now, and then if you want to reuse them for the next one, and even for professional year, you can, but put some thought into them now. Okay, and then finally, the background check assurance form. This is the one that I'm pretty sure everybody's already completed, but if you had some questions about the background check assurance form and about why we have you do the VEX process and what you have to do after you're done with it, then you can check out all that information here. Okay, so I think that is all of that information I needed to share with you. You have my email address. It is my preferred means of communication, so if you have any questions, just send me an email. I look forward to seeing all your forms start piling in before the 1st. And yeah, hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.